So I have this new label called Calamity Jane Recordings, which is a subset of Strictly Rhythm Records. It's a very famous record label based out of New York. They've been around for about 20 years at this point. So it's a great honor to be a part of that. And the whole purpose of our label is to give young artists with no release history a chance to have their music distributed to all of the major networks, to have their songs remixed by top people in the industry to get them the exposure we think they deserve. With this impending law, it frankly worries me because I know that these kids are out there, they're promoting themselves, their music. This whole scene is populated by people. I think that most of the people don't even do it for the money. The people that are promoting are doing it because of their love of music. And I know that if I had to be subject to those laws, I probably wouldn't be DJing today. I was getting my start when I was probably 18 years old. Those events that formulated my DJ career probably wouldn't have happened. It just wouldn't have happened at all. And I don't want to see that become a reality for these young artists that we're trying to bring up in the scene. I just think that would be so unfortunate.
A little loud though, go loud.
All right, I'm Griffin Rodriguez from IC Demons.
I'm Dave McDonald, I'm in IC Demons too.
The ordinance that we're talking about is definitely, it seems, it's going to open up a lot of gray areas about jurisdiction, a lot of red tape, it seems like, a lot of liability that people who are putting on small events, jazz, experimental music, will never be able to come up with to put on an event. I think the city thrives on its experimental music scene. There's a large amount of people with a large amount of money who move to the city to be part of this scene, and people move here all the time to do music here, and it's going to jeopardize how that works in Chicago.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think it's kind of ironic that Daley's trying to push this through in light of all the moves he's made to make Chicago like a nice cultural kind of European capital city. And I think it's ironic because right now in Europe, you know, lots of bands from Chicago, jazz bands, rock bands, go over there, and people are all about, they like the music that's coming out of here, you know, and the reason that music has been able to develop and thrive is because of the small spaces that allow people to play. And you know, once you get rid of that, you've lost the niche culture that we have here that's getting to be world renowned.
It's true.
Right on, dude.
Very nice, guys.
The proposed ordinance flat out says that, say if you have a full-time job and just for the love of music, once or twice a year you want to promote an event at one of the licensed clubs in the city. Amazingly enough, they flat out tell you that you have to register with the city.
All it takes is one or two bands to get fined for word to spread pretty damn quickly to the rest of the independent music community to not come to Chicago. And guess what? Gone.
Hi, my name is Fran Minor, longtime independent music producer and promoter here in Chicago. And I guess the only thing I really want to say is that if you truly value creativity and culture in the city, you'll strongly advise against this Promoters Ordinance that's trying to go through. Some of us worked for years and years to build up to the point that we've gotten to now. Please don't kill it for us.
Hey, I'm Gary Zabinski. I'm the general manager of a theater in Waukegan, Illinois, the Genesee, 2,400-seat concert venue. I grew up in Chicago. I'm a Chicago boy. I've been going to music and concerts and theater all my life here, and it'd be a shame if the city were to put the kind of undue burden on independent people and small bands, and especially promoters like me, who just want to bring entertainment to the masses. And who's going to pay for it? The consumer's going to pay for it. Ticket prices are just going to get higher, service fees will get higher, and it's not going to prevent those costs from just escalating even more. So I encourage you to fight against this, make your voice known, and let's keep independent music and all promoters, even the commercial ones, from having to pay some sort of fee or penalty or fine just to bring stuff to Chicago. Thanks a lot.
The proposed ordinance contains several provisions that would burden small venues and less-known bands disproportionately. It defines the regulated activity under the definition of event promoter to include advertising so broadly that it would include word of mouth generated by a band or its supporters, distribution of flyers or posters publicizing a performance, even free notices of performances on websites such as MySpace music profiles, all the while exempting paid newspaper advertising.
I'm Hank Perritt. I'm a professor of law and former dean of Chicago Kent College of Law, and I also serve as co-chair of a task force of the Chicago Council on Global Affairs that looked at the elements of Chicago's global future and how Chicago can use the assets that it has to become a city that people think of as a global city and where people want to live and where they want to visit. I think that one of the underappreciated assets in Chicago is the indie music community. We have thousands of very talented musicians in Chicago, and not nearly enough people know about those Chicago assets. And the city government is not doing what it should do to make people aware of these music assets in Chicago. Not only that, the City Council recently considered this Event Promoters Ordinance, which is a terrible idea and represents a move in exactly the opposite direction from what the city government should be doing. This Event Promoters Ordinance doesn't meet any public need. It's very, very ill-suited to the realities of Chicago's music community. As written, it's unconstitutional. And as I say, it is the opposite kind of thing from what the city government should be doing. What the city of Chicago should be doing is letting all of Chicago, letting the tourists who come to Chicago, and letting people around the world know that one of the great things about Chicago is that it has tremendous music assets, and that the music assets are not limited to the blues and jazz from decades ago. They're not limited to the Chicago bands like Fall Out Boy who've made it big and show up on the front page of Rolling Stone magazine. But they also include thousands of other musicians who play in small venues and who are not yet known, but who make very good music. What the city should be doing is publishing directories, putting up posters, giving out flyers at the airports, making sure that there are directories in hotel rooms so that when people visit Chicago, they understand that if they want to enjoy good music, they can go to some of these small venues. And if the city won't do it, if the city won't step up to its responsibility to promote these world-class assets in Chicago, then at the very least, individual entrepreneurs and enthusiastic consumers of music ought to remain free under the First Amendment of our United States Constitution to do it themselves. And that's what this ordinance prohibits.
When I travel to DJ, especially out of the country, when I say that I'm from Chicago, it carries so much weight. It's amazing. I mean, there are times where I've gotten booked purely because I'm from Chicago, and people feel like house music is so closely associated with our city that it must be good no matter what, even if they haven't heard me. And you know, just saying that I'm from here gives me a sense of pride when I think about the fact that I associate myself with the type of music that originated about a 15-minute drive from where we are right now.
Hey, Seth Gerber here. I'm with MF Chicago. We're a artist community here in Chicago. We're made up of musicians, video artists, animators. All right, so the Chicago Promoters Ordinance is really an unfair situation for local independent artists in Chicago. And this is not only for musicians, but it's artists that work with musicians. Myself, I'm a video artist, and we work in conjunction with a lot of musicians. So you can start with music. You can add to that video art, gallery spaces, any sort of theatrical performance, anything that involves with promotion. So for example, if I wanted to do an event and if I want to announce it to my friends and I put it on MySpace, or if I produce some flyers for it, it would make me fall under this jurisdiction. And that sort of situation would make it impossible for people like myself and other people to do events, and we just do it for the love of it. So let us have our time.